back, everybody, to Dan Has Fun with me, Daniel, doing more Europa Universalis 4, Bologna, Baloney. This episode we might have to be a little bit careful, because last episode we took Lucca. We actually ended up taking Corsica too, which was not planned, but we could do it, so we did. We clearly took the absolute maximum we could, because we have, for example, Florence here, aggressive expansion of exactly 50. So we do want to keep close tabs. Once people get above 50, they can join a coalition against us. And if that happens right now, we're in for a pretty rough time. Luckily, we'll have Austria on side and hopefully Bohemia as well. They're both allied to us. Bohemia is Hussite, which is fun. But we do want to tread a little bit carefully. Yeah, we'll let them have some more influence. That's fine. How long is it until our peace with Venice expires? 6 years. So that, honestly, is probably going to be the next plan. What we want to be careful of, though, is checking what land Austria is interested in. Well, that would answer that question. Let's hope these two don't end up at war. That would be suboptimal for us, given we're allied to both sides. We'll be bound to defending the defender. And one of these is a much stronger force than the other, so let's hope it doesn't come to that. We will see. If we end up having to not commit to a defensive alliance, that would be bad. Let's hope it doesn't happen. Anyway, for now, what that means is that Austria is not particularly interested in this land, so we're going to start spying on Venice again. Because we don't have any claims on them right now. So we need to have at least one ahead of time. We also have to be cognizant that both of these provinces are Milanese cause. So if we take them, Milan is probably going to hate us. That's not really a huge issue in the grand scheme of things. But for now, we're allied to them. So we do want to be careful to some degree. It's also very interesting as a thought, possibly with regards to Mantua. It's a one-province minor, but its real issue is that it's allied to the Pope. And the Pope right now hates us. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. I know we're trying to have an automatic diplomat, but I would much rather try and have them hate us less, because the more the Pope hates us, the less influence we're going to get. And I'd quite like to press this button once or twice more before we potentially change religion. We might as well get the cheaper tech now. What idea group do we want? So, I went quantity early because we were worried about the big neighbours near us, but now we're allied to the big neighbours, so I'm thinking innovative is the way to go. So, it makes everything very much discounted, so you keep your prestige typically a bit higher, you get innovative fast, which makes power cheaper. Cheaper tech is awesome, and the institution embracement cost, that can get really, really expensive with a big nation. So that is very helpful. One extra advisor, don't really care too much. Quicker institution spread, pretty good. War exhaustion, going down quicker is very good, because that is a 1-to-1 ratio with unrest. And the leader without upkeep is okay. Cheaper advisors, though, is nice. So that means you can make that jump from +1 to +2 usually quite a bit quicker, and more points equals just more better. It does combine with quantity ideas, but not for something that's that good. It gives you the garrison system, but I still think it's worth going for. And what will happen, once we get a few more of our military ideas, we'll probably flip our focus. And then kind of take options there. I also have a horrible feeling that it might be pretty close between when our next election happens and when our dude dies. And he is really good. Like, really, really good. I'm going to be very sad when he dies. We'll have to mourn for him. So boys insulted us, we don't care. We're not going to invest in that idea. We do need military tech level 7, so we don't just get whomped. Tech 7 is actually very, very good. Not only does it give you the cannons I talked about, the mortars, but it's more tactics, more artillery stats, although their stats start off being pretty dismal, like I alluded to. But it's a pretty important tech level. Probably not the most important tech level, but it's a pretty important tech level. The Ottomans are still at war to try and get Kaffa, which is, yeah, Genoan. I don't really mind if these get taken, because it makes it easier for us to attack Genoa, and they are now our rival, so I'm good with that. We do have Corsica on board. I do want to, before I forget, I want to make Venetia a state. And as a result, I'm tempted to make Venetian an accepted culture. So Venetian, it is in the same culture group as our own culture, so they don't get penalized quite as badly, but it's still 15% less tax, manpower, and 10% less sailors. It's tempting. I'm going to think about it. I'm not going to quite do it yet because we only have space for 2 promoted cultures, and if we end up, taking some Germanic cultured land, that's far more problematic in terms of the penalties. So we'll wait. I guess what we should also do in the meantime, what is our naval limit? 14. We're building 10 trading ships, so I don't really feel the need to build 4 galleys for protection right now. So I guess we should look in the way of buildings and see what options we have. 500 men is actually not bad. I'll do that. And even though these are not great investments, I am going to do it just because more money is obviously a good thing. If we need more sailors, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, just because I don't intend to pull up to our full limit right now. They want some money from us. I'm fine with that. If they want to trade favors for small amounts of money, I'm perfectly okay with it. Like I said, we're in a part of the world where there's a lot of money to be made, so that is a reasonable deal. So Savoy's having a terrible time with heretics. Like an absolutely awful time. Yeah, and that's what we expected. So Naples is in a personal union with Castile. Pretty typical. It does make them scary, though, because they have 2 junior partners. And long-term, Spain is going to be our biggest issue. I guess for now we might as well have them start protecting trade. Where do we want to have trade protected? What makes the most sense? If we put them down to Alexandria, they might get picked off if a war starts. Honestly, I'm going to keep them in our home node and say, go to port during war. And we'll have the others do the same, and they should end up all grouping together as a stack of 10. We'll keep an eye out for it. I think that's the safest thing to do. Given we are making so much money, I'm actually going to do army drilling. While we're in peacetime, I'd quite like to get our army professionalism up a little bit. Just because over time, you do get some pretty good benefits. Oh, we just got caught, so I need to put a claim on something. Let's put a claim on Treviso. We'll still keep our spy there for now, so that when the time goes by and he can start spying again, I don't have to reissue it. Switzerland is going to attack Savoy. That's fine with me. That's an interesting thought, because Mantua is going to be involved. Switzerland doesn't like us. That's fair. Oh, I guess we can stop having... The Pope doesn't hate us now. We can stop having open borders with Trent. It wasn't costing us any diplomatic points. I could ally them, but I don't need to anymore. I don't think that's a necessary thing. It wasn't costing us any diplomatic points because we were at our actual limit. We weren't beyond it. So that's fine. Hungary's been warned by the Ottomans, which is interesting. Who's allied with who? So Bohemia's allied to Poland. Austria is also allied to Poland. Oh boy. They're in the same boat as me. I wonder if I could get Poland on board. Let's send a diplomat and just see what happens. Worst case scenario, we're not doing a huge amount else right now. Burgundy has become the papal controller. Interesting. I wonder which curio they'll pick. Clearly I didn't mean curio. I'm got, you know, Darkest Dungeon things on the brain. But yeah, the golden bull they picked was not exactly the one I would want. We'll just take the papal influence. We're going to be losing prestige right now anyway. Oh, the papal state rivaled us. That's rude of them. That means they're going to hate us forever. When that happens, you can declare statute in restraint of appeals. So what that ends up meaning, they don't necessarily have to rival us, but if they hate us and we have a reasonably competent ruler, you can actually click this button, and what ends up happening is you pretty much sacrifice the entire ability to get papal influence. You just throw all your papal influence in the bin. It makes usually quite a lot of nations angry with you. In this case, that list of nations, other than Milan, is completely inconsequential. But what ends up happening is you end up with more prestige, cheaper stability, less unrest, and your clergy like you quite a lot. It's a very tempting option. We're at an odd number, though. But what I'm probably going to do is say no to that for now. Hopefully I won't forget. But the plan will be, once I get to 50 papal influence, I'm going to use it and then do that. I think that's the smartest thing we can do. And we can nearly afford tech level 7. We need our military tech level 7 as soon as we can. I'm keeping our forts up, by the way, because of army tradition. So, army tradition, if you have forts that are fully maintained, you get less degradation. And the higher this is, the better your generals will be. So it's worth doing. I actually have now the capacity of 13 units, so I might get a second cannon when the time comes. A new confession of faith. Do we want admin power or papal influence? Well, I'd almost always click this, but I'm actually going to go for papal influence, because the sooner I can get to 50, the sooner I'm going to be able to hit that button. The less likely I'm going to forget. Got another ship, get that into the Venice trade node. Florence has rivaled us as well, which is very rude of them. We have 5 nations rivaling us. Obviously, we've rivaled 3 of them back. But that's pretty rude. It pretty much means everybody in northern Italy, apart from Milan, hates us. There we go. There's military tech level 7. Get a couple of large cast bronze mortars. We're just going to call them artillery. Austria no longer considers Austria a rival. That's interesting. They've probably grown too big. Yeah, because Austria just lost their ability to rival them, so I assume the Ottomans got too big to be a valid rival. There's a couple more ships. Let's get them out there as well. Oh, interesting. Florence has been excommunicated. Wait. The Pope, Florence, has excommunicated the ruler of Florence. I think, wasn't it Burgundy was the papal controller? I'm pretty sure if I go into papacy, yeah. They also have a crusade against Tunis. Interesting. We're not going to be dealing with that. Although Tunis, when you get a bit further on in the game, can be a potentially pretty delicious target. Unless they're allied to the Ottomans, in which case that can be real spicy. Just out of curiosity, the fact that his name is in red, so Brother Girolamo Savonarola, clearly not how that's meant to be pronounced. Yeah, the red writing shows he's excommunicated. But France would still defend him, so clearly that is that's a no-go. But when you do, if you have an excommunicated ruler, you can get a really big discount on aggressive expansion. So it is pretty tasty. So if they can find a way to get France out of an alliance, that would be awesome. Even with Austria on board, we would have issues. If we had Bohemia and... well, we're not going to get Milan because Milan's allied to Florence. But if we had Bohemia as well, it would be virtually identical sides. And we don't want to do that right now, purely because if we did that, the Pope could jump in on us. And the Pope is not insubstantial in terms of his troops. He's a pretty dangerous nation. He actually has as many units as I do, and more than anybody else in this little area. So that's definitely not in the plan, at least not for right now. Oh, we lost our royal marriage with Austria. Austria got re-elected as the Holy Roman Emperor, and they were able to enact an imperial reform. So they get an extra diplomat, we get less unrest. I'm okay with that. That sounds pretty good to me. We could add this province to the Holy Roman Empire if we wanted to. I'm actually going to do it. Because then, let's say Aragon through Castile tries to attack it, Austria should theoretically defend. We can also add that province, and that province, and that province, and Lucca will need adding as well. Beautiful. So now if we go into political maps, they should all be green. And they are. The leader of Florence is no longer excommunicated, mainly because they died by the looks of it. Or they got re-elected. Yeah, there was an election. So Bonaventura Bencivenni is now the leader, and he is not excommunicated. What a shame. What a pity. Our spy is working again now, so that's good. What on earth? Never realised that the... oh, that's the Great Palace, the Doge's Palace. I didn't realise it was actually on the map. That's pretty cool. I like it. Savoy just got ripped a new one by Switzerland. Nice. No qualms with that. Are we likely to ally Switzerland? Probably not, because Austria's going to likely eye them up at some point, given that they are on both sides of their border. Burgundy's getting in on Savoy as well, which is not great. At least France isn't allied to... yeah, it's not allied to Burgundy. Sometimes it's not common, but I've seen Burgundy and France be friends. They, curb stomp England, and then all hell breaks loose because they both eat down here, and Austria can't beat them both at the same time because, yeah, Burgundy may only have, say, 15,000 troops, but it has 3 junior partners, and they're all probably going to have like 6,000 apiece. Our Doge is well advised, apparently. I'm surprised that he is still alive. He is 68. Oh, okay, that works. They just got threatened for a province, and Savoy gave them the province rather than just being like, oh, we're losing war again. You guys can also protect trade in Venice. Hide. Okay, we're using 7 sailors a month, but we're gaining 15. So that's what I wanted to check. Because if you go too hard too early on naval units, then invariably you'll end up running out of sailors and then just suffering massive amounts of attrition. So that's what I wanted to check, and we're good. These guys should end up merging up eventually. And we're missing 1 more ship before we end up with a full complement of 10. I'd like to try and get another claim. Ideally, Friuli would be a pretty good pick. There's no point getting a claim on their capital. Genoa hates us now as well. There's no point getting a claim on this because there's no way I'm going to be able to access it. Venice has 28 ships. It's just not happening. We have 9 and they're all light ships, so they are pretty poor in terms of actual combat. We're still making good money. We're up to 21,800 manpower. We don't really have a good usage for this money right now. I mean, it's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. I'm tempted just to get a little bit more trade power. Might as well use it on something. The money just sitting in your pocket is not going to do anything. And I don't believe... I can't remember which tab it's in. Is it diplomatic? No. Great projects, that's what I'm looking for. Papal influence? Yeah, actually, I can do that now. Yeah, we don't have a great project within our borders. We have a couple that are very, very close. But we don't actually have any in our borders to spend money on. Okay, so we're up to 51. Oh, I need 52. 52 papal influence. I only needed 50. But I need 52. So we have to wait one more month. And then, yes, we'll be using up our papal influence. And then we will be throwing our ability to do that further in the bin. I do have 52. I guess there must be a rounding component that it's not showing. We'll give it another month's tick. It's not technically true, though, is it? Still no? Yeah, we should at least be able to do that, for example. Now, some of these we aren't going to be able to do. We don't have the requirements. Like, one of them you have to be at war to do, but there's no reason why some of these I shouldn't be able to do them, but I can't do them yet. Poland, how do you feel about us now at maximum relation? -11. Royal marriage should give us another 10. I'm going to do it anyway. Now they're happy enough. Actually, we can get an alliance with them. That's amazing. So we're going to ally them and then check if we can use the papal influence, I guess. Pope's being all stingy. What a surprise. Okay. So now we're in the stupid scenario where we're allied to Austria, Bohemia, and Poland. I'm sure that's going to come to bite us in the backside at some point, but it's just too hilarious to not do. How do we still not have the ability to do this? Okay, now we do. Okay, so we can only pick one. We don't need cheaper construction because we're running out of stuff to build. Bonus morale's not bad. We're not technically in a war right now, but we will be soon. Mercantilism's always good, just more money effectively through trade. We don't need Diplo annexing. Nope, that's what we're going to do. So none of those were great, but we'll take that. And then we're going to go in, because if I don't do it now, it is never going to happen. We're going to go accept that decision. And we can also, because we have an admin skill of at least 4, we could go for disillusion of the monasteries as well. If we do that, it makes stability, you know, if we have to increase our stability, it's a bit more expensive. It gives us more money, and it means we don't have to pay the Pope, even if we're Catholic. So we're going to do that. Not having to pay the Pope is nice, especially considering he's rivaled us. Feels a bit wrong to be paying a guy that's actively saying he wants to ruin our day, so... It thematically feels like it makes sense. Can you go protect trade, please? Thank you. Okay, it is election time. Our guy is still alive, but we're not going to re-elect him because I'm sure he'll die beforehand, and it's 33 Republican tradition. We're currently at 88. If we go for a family member, that's a pretty good leader. I mean, that is 336, 12 total points. I'm going to go for it. That's a great deal. Muscovy's going to attack Novgorod. In other news, water is wet. I wonder what they're going to get for their end of first month in charge trait. Survey says... Actually, I really like that one. Martial Educator is very, very good in my opinion. And he's only 29. Oh my. Oh, there's a lot to like here. He's not quite as good in terms of stats as his predecessor, but a 12-point leader that's 29 for an election where I can possibly boost his stats in 12 years. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that at all. Marketplaces are built. I don't want to put this in a state yet because it's not going to be very efficient. I'm clearly not going to get access to these anytime soon. Although it's interesting, we're not going to do this because we don't have CB. But look how close the sides would be now. Unfortunately for us, Poland is too far away, so they are really going to be only helpful from a defensive standpoint. But the nice thing about it is this should hopefully curb the Ottomans a little bit. Because Moldavia is a march, sort of like a vassal, effectively, of Poland. So they're going to have a hard time expanding here, because if they attack Poland, it's going to bring in Poland, Bohemia, Austria, and ourselves. Obviously, we're not very important compared to some of those. I mean, Stettin would get involved too, but who cares? That should dissuade the Ottomans from trying to expand this way. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still going to take Wallachia. Bosnia and Herzegovina's toast. But both of these are doomed. I am not allying Bosnia, that's a death wish. And as soon as they decide that Ragusa isn't worth saving, they'll possibly eat that too. But at least it means there'll be a line. A bit like there was in real life. Sure. Oh yeah, because we died. So yeah, we didn't actually have a royal marriage going on there. Get that claim fabricated before we end up losing our dude again. When does this expire? January. So in less than a year. So we're going to stop doing our army drilling. We're going to move over here ahead of time. What does our aggressive expansion look like? We still have to be a little bit careful because it's still up at 36 with Florence. If one nation ends up with you in a coalition, that's obviously irrelevant. But if you end up with half a dozen, then they can attack you as a half a dozen and then rope whoever's the attacker in with their allies as well. So you got to be careful. Speaking of which, let's make sure ours are topped up. Gotta remember when the automated diplomats weren't a thing. Man, that is a great quality of life change when they put those in. How much does Naples want to escape? Not that much. That's not good. So what we're hoping France ends up attacking Castile. Unfortunately, they both have diplomatic leaders. That's hilarious. Castile would actually accept an alliance from us. We're definitely not doing that. But that is very funny that that's a thing that could happen. France absolutely will not. And the Ottomans won't because we're allied to Poland. Not that they likely would anyway. But it's interesting. We're definitely going to take that idea because we're way ahead on time anyway. So let's get some more bonus. Yeah, we're actually getting positive. With that papal amount that we spent, we're actually going up from our default 31 right now. That's pretty darn good, isn't it? And we just now have to wait until January. And then the fun can start all over again. We actually outnumber Venice for troops. What we would want to do, though, is definitely make sure we manually move our ships back into our land before we declare the war, though. Otherwise, the Venetian ships will just carve us apart like Christmas turkey. And as delicious as Christmas turkey is, I don't want my ships turning into turkey. The Mamluks have got the price of paper to go up. Not hugely relevant to us right now, to be totally honest, but again, more price equals more Wonga. And as soon as we get to the start of December, I am going to have my navy just run away. What new idea can we get? Yeah, we'll take that. Cheaper land maintenance. That's perfectly good to me. That is actually really good. Cheaper re-election costs, so next time we do an idea, we will get the ability to re-elect our family for significantly less cost of Republican tradition. That's awesome. And that's also pretty awesome too. A level 2 army organizer who would be half price. So he would still cost more, so he still costs 2.39 a turn. But I'm totally going to do that. Absolutely. And he's 30 years old, so he should hang around for a while. Our diplomatic advisor is 61, so he has a 14% chance of dying every year. When you're 44, apparently you have a 2% chance of dying every year. It feels higher than that when you're the human player. I guess we're going to have enough to be able to claim something else too. What is in which state? So having Istria is not particularly useful for us. That wouldn't be great either, although it's funny that I can get a claim on that. At the risk of potentially frustrating Milan, that is clearly the place I have to put the claim on. Whether we take that province or not is a different matter. I suspect we'll just be taking these two. I mean, they are 30 development between them, so they're pretty strong as it is. Do we want to get... I don't need to. I could go up to 15 force limit now that I've got a person that helps with that, but I really don't need to do it. I am going to move our navy back now, though, so I don't forget. And they are going to sit there for the time being. Parallel authority. Before we even load that... I didn't mean to move my navy. Get back in there. Thank you. Well, our estates can be seized from again. It does mean we're going to temporarily have a faction that's not very happy with us, but I don't really care, so we're going to go with the way that balances the influence out the most. So, just to show, because we're at less than 30% happiness, they are giving us a few pretty nasty traits, but it's not really all that bad. For now, it's fine. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. We still don't have any effect, but that's not a huge surprise. And we want to make sure that we are ready to roll. Okay. Peace with Venice can now be ended. Why, oh why, are they allied to Castile? Oh, that might put a snake in my ointment. So they have 26,000 plus 22, so that's 48. So they effectively have 52,000 troops. Well, that's interesting. Now, Genoa, that's fine. We're just going to, get Genoa out pretty much ASAP. If we invite in everybody who will be invited, we do have the numbers advantage. Not by a huge amount. We also have fractionally more manpower, but again, not by a huge amount. Ooh, that's spicy. The other thing I have to bear in mind too is that Treviso has a fort, which means I would not be able to get to Friuli straight away, and I can almost guarantee that even though they don't have a claim on it, Austria, if they claim that, they siege that out, they would want it for themselves. But is that all that a bad thing? I could just take one province and then probably get an absolute ton of money in the form of war reparations off Castile. I'll think about it. I'm going to cut the video off now. My apologies, ain't I a stinker? Please hang around for the next video. We'll see if we go ahead with it, and if we do, what on earth happens. Appreciate your time. Like the video if you want to. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care now.